A 2026 Silverado 1500 sits in a service bay with its oil pan removed. This truck makes 420 horsepower and costs $80,000. And right now it's scrap metal. The difference between a truck that lasts 400,000 miles and one that grenades at 30,000 is 3 letters on your VIN plate. 7 engines rank worst to best, 3 that can bankrupt you, 4 built to survive. Number 7 announces itself the second you turn the key. Number 7. The 2.7-liter TurboMax makes its presence known the moment you turn the key. Listen for a sharp metallic rattle during the first 2 to 4 seconds of a cold start, a warning sign that the timing chain tensioner is already losing its grip. That sound is not just annoying, it is the earliest and most reliable clue that the chain is slapping against the guides, because the hydraulic tensioner cannot keep up once wear sets in. If you catch it early, a tensioner replacement runs between $400 and $1,250 at a reputable shop. Ignore it, and you risk chain stretch, camshaft timing codes, and a full long block replacement that can top $8,000. But the trouble does not stop there. Many owners have faced turbo wastegate actuator failures in the 30,000 to 50,000 mile window. When the actuator goes, expect a high-pitched whine, fluctuating boost, and a bill that lands between $2,000 and $3,000 for parts and labor. Most failures cluster in 2019 to 2021 trucks, though updated tensioners started appearing in 2022. The 3-second cold start test is your first line of defense. If you hear that metallic rattle, walk away, or demand documentation of a recent timing chain service. In this engine, complexity means risk, and the cost of missing the early warning is measured in thousands. Number 6. The 3.0-liter Duramax LZ0 hides its most destructive flaw deep in the bottom end. Instead of an obvious rattle or warning light, this engine's downfall starts with a silent enemy, thrust-bearing wear that lets the crankshaft walk forward and backward inside the block. When end-play exceeds the factory spec of 0.004 to 0.010 inches, the crank can score the main bearing caps and send metal shavings through the oil system. The critical threshold is 0.025 inches or more. That is the number every buyer should demand in writing, measured at the crank pulley bolt, with a dial indicator exactly as outlined in General Motors Technical Service Bulletin 5 NA307. If a dealer cannot produce that measurement, or if the engine was built before May 15, 2025, walk away or prepare for a $9,000 long block replacement. Failures have been documented as early as 3,400 miles, often with a bell housing rattle or the P06DD oil pressure code as the only clue. General Motors' own bulletin orders a full engine swap if excessive end play is found, but there is no recall, only a standard powertrain warranty. The real danger is that a truck can pass a routine inspection and still suffer a catastrophic failure before 10,000 miles. For buyers, the safest move is to check the engine build date stamped on the block, insist on a documented end play reading, and keep every piece of paperwork. If the number hits 0.025 inches or higher, the only legitimate fix is a new engine under warranty, no half measures. And for anyone planning to keep the truck past 200,000 miles, budget at least $2,000 for the oil pump wet belt service, which requires dropping the transmission. In this case, a precise measurement is the only thing standing between a reliable diesel and a financial disaster. The 6.2-liter L87 V8 became the focus of a sweeping federal recall, number 25 V274. After nearly 600,000 GM trucks and SUVs from 2021 to 2024 were found vulnerable to catastrophic engine failure. The root cause was microscopic metal debris and machining errors trapped in the oil galleries during assembly. As oil circulates, these particles grind away at the rod bearings from within, often without warning. The first symptom is a deep, hollow knock from the bottom end, distinct from the lighter tick of a lifter. Sometimes it appears at idle, sometimes only under load, but the risk is always the same. A connecting rod can break loose and punch through the engine block, often at speed, leaving nothing salvageable. GM's mandated fix is a full engine replacement with improved machining and bearing seals, not a simple repair. Yet even after recall inspections, failures continued. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration documented 36 cases where engines failed catastrophically despite passing the official check. In those instances, leftover debris or contaminated assembly led to repeat bearing seizures and block destruction, sometimes just months after the initial repair. The investigation remains active and further action is possible. For owners, vigilance is the only defense. Before accepting a recall clearance, an independent oil analysis is essential. Elevated iron or copper levels on a Blackstone report signal hidden bearing wear. Keep every work order and parts receipt. If a deep knock develops, driving even a short distance risks total loss. Immediate towing is the only safe option. Out of warranty, engine replacement can easily exceed $12,000, making documentation and early detection vital for survival. Number 4. The 4.8-liter V8 builds its reputation on old-school durability that modern engines cannot match. This cast iron block, mated to a forged steel crankshaft, was standard fare in Silverado and Sierra trucks from 1999 to 2013. The secret to its long life lies in its simplicity, with no active fuel management, no direct injection, and no variable valve timing. That means far fewer moving parts to fail, no lifter collapse, and no catastrophic oil consumption. Fleet records and owner reports routinely show these engines passing 250,000 to 300,000 miles with nothing more than regular oil changes and the occasional spark plug swap. Compression and oil usage are the two numbers that matter most when buying used. A quick compression test and a check for excessive oil consumption will tell you if the engine is still healthy. Major failures are rare, and when they do happen, it is usually because of neglect, not design. For buyers, the 4.8-liter V8 offers peace of mind, minimal risk of wallet-busting repairs, and a track record that makes it a safe bet for anyone hunting a high-mileage workhorse. Number 3. The 5.3-liter V8 with active fuel management is a case study in how a strong engine can be sabotaged by one weak link. Underneath, you get a cast iron block and a forged crankshaft hardware that can last 300,000 miles or more. But the active fuel management system, designed to save fuel by shutting down half the cylinders, introduces a critical vulnerability: the lifter lock pin. When that tiny spring fails, the lifter collapses, chews up the cam, and sends metal debris through the oil system. The first warning is usually a sharp ticking sound on cold start, but a smarter move is to pull a spark plug and check for carbon fouling, a clear sign that oil is sneaking past the rings, often due to active fuel management issues. If you catch it too late, expect a $4,000 to $7,000 repair bill for a full cam and lifter job. There is, however, a $150 solution. A plug-in module that fits the OBD2 port will electronically lock the engine in full V8 mode. Independent lab tests show no real-world drop in fuel economy, and you are left with a bulletproof plug without the ticking time bomb. For buyers, this is a conditional win. Inspect the plugs, install the disabler, and you will have an engine that can outlast the truck itself. Number 2. The 6-liter Vortec V8 earned its reputation the hard way by hauling police cruisers, ambulances, and work trucks for 2 decades straight. This engine's secret is old-school engineering, a cast iron block, a forged steel crankshaft, and port fuel injection that shrugs off ethanol blends and dirty fuel without carbon buildup. Fleet maintenance records show these engines routinely pass 300,000 miles with nothing worse than water pump leaks, alternator failures, or a noisy idler pulley. Problems fixed for $200 to $400 in parts. The real advantage comes from predictability. Every known weak spot is mapped out in service bulletins, and every part is available at any auto parts counter in America. A one-time $500 to $800 preventative service that includes fresh coolant, a transmission flush, and new accessory drive belts buys years of worry-free miles. For any buyer, a clean oil pressure reading at hot idle, no coolant in the valley, and a quiet front cover are the only boxes to check. No timing chain tensioners to fail, no turbo actuators to seize, just a bulletproof workhorse that keeps running as long as you keep up with basic service. And finally, in first place, the 5.3-liter LM7 and L37 V8 engines from 1999 to 2007 stand alone as the gold standard for Silverado longevity. This is the engine that quietly racks up 300,000, 400,000, even 440,000 miles on the original internals, outlasting not just its own era, but nearly every modern successor. The secret is not magic, it is the complete absence of complexity. No active fuel management to fail, no direct injection to clog, no turbo to overheat, and not a single timing chain tensioner to rattle itself loose. Instead, you get a cast iron block, a forged crank, and port fuel injection that shrugs off ethanol and carbon deposits. Maintenance is as simple as it gets. Change the oil every 5,000 miles, swap the spark plugs twice in the engine's life, and keep coolant and transmission fluid fresh. That is it. There are documented trucks, workhorses, and family haulers alike, still running strong on their original LM7s past 400,000 miles, with nothing more than routine service and a steady hand on the maintenance log. For buyers, the checklist is refreshingly short. Demand to see oil change records, look for receipts that go back years, and check for original engine components. A clean oil fill cap, a dry valley under the intake, and a smooth idle are your green lights. Compression should be even across all cylinders, but these engines rarely lose a step unless abused. The only real threat comes from neglect, long oil change intervals, overheating, or skipped coolant flushes. If the paperwork is solid and the engine sounds clean, you are looking at the lowest catastrophic risk in the Silverado lineup. In a market crowded with ticking time bombs and high-tech headaches, the LM7 and L33 are the last word in predictable, affordable durability. This is the engine you buy when you want your truck to outlast the payment book and maybe even the next one. Across all 7 engines, one reality stands out. General Motors' design choices can mean either decades of trouble-free miles or a catastrophic repair bill before 50,000. Timing chains that rattle when cold, crankshafts with fatal end play, and active fuel management lifters are not flukes. They are patterns. Documentation, receipts, and vigilance are your strongest tools. Demand answers.